Hello, my name is Andy Hancock, and I'm a Global Vice President in the Supply Chain Management Organization at SAP. SAP is one of the largest enterprise software vendors in the world, and today we're going to talk to two amazing manufacturing executives. I hope you enjoy. Well, welcome to this roundtable discussion. My name is Andy Hancock. I'm part of the Global Executive Leadership Team for Supply Chain Management in SAP. SAP is a German software vendor, which I hope you probably already know. Would you mind introducing yourself to the audience, please?
Sure. So I'm Rakaya Artis. I'm the Global Vice President of Operations and Supply Chain for an organization called Destaco. Destaco is a global industrial manufacturer. We automate other organizations.
And my name is Christina Upa, and I'm the Vice President of Attack Helicopter Programs, and I'm also the Mesa Site Leader. I've been with the Boeing Company now for 28 years, all of which have been in Mesa, Arizona, building amazing products for the warfighter, namely the Apache helicopter.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for joining me, ladies. I think as a first topic, we really want to talk about workforce development, talent acquisition, and talent retention. So, I assume that both of you sort of have those strategies and programs in place. Would you mind just explaining some of your thoughts around that?
Well, for me, one of the key things is making sure that your people are excited about coming to work, that they like the products that they make. So just as she introduced, and she had this big smile on her face, right, as she talks about the helicopter, right, your folks need to be impassioned, and then they will be engaged. So, I've listened to a lot of speakers lately, and everybody talks about engagement, but that engagement comes from having that excitement. That's where it starts.
Right. Christina?
I think for us, we've seen what I would say significant talent loss in this post-pandemic environment. And with that, we've had to make very specific and targeted changes in the way we recruit and retain a talented, skilled workforce. For us out in Mesa, Arizona, we've been very intentional about working with our local high schools, local community colleges, and being a part of that framework. Being embedded in those institutions, going out and teaching young students and getting them excited about jobs in manufacturing. We've also partnered with some of our local schools to create programs in aviation, in manufacturing, so they can get that hands-on experience. We also have programs where we bring in high school interns so they can work in our factory, on our assembly lines, and get to see the great work that we do. I think being in the defense industry and building a product that defends our nation's freedom is so very powerful. And, building that community and that space where we're attracting talent, but we're also being active in creating that pipeline, that future workforce. We also partner with many of our local colleges and universities at well and are a part of the boards to make sure, once again, we're embedded in that fabric and engaged in those institutions to bring in new talent. And once you bring people in, you have to retain them. And, one of the things that we've been very intentional about doing is changing the way we manufacture, bringing it from, our historical industrial era. And the Boeing Company is actually 108 years old. So we were really developed and born out of that industrial era. And now as we've come into the late 20th century in this digital era, we have to do things differently. We have to ensure that our manufacturing is at the same standard as the aircraft that we build. So ensuring that we're bringing in new opportunities, that we're embedding artificial intelligence and digital visual capabilities into our manufacturing processes.
So on the talent retention, do you think when new talent is coming in, do you think that they have a different expectation of what organizations are going to provide them. We see TikTok, we see YouTube Shorts. The way that they actually consume information is somewhat different. When I first started out of university, it was big manuals to then feed through
Yes.
operational procedures. Now it's like, here's a video to watch. How have you adapted to the new way of learning with the new early talent that's coming through?
So absolutely. One of the things that my organization has done is just that. Work instructions, we have some very complex products that we produce. And in order to understand that work instruction, it looks like a pamphlet, right? You throw it on the table and it's intimidating to anybody to review. So we said, okay, well, how's the younger generation learning? To your point, TikTok videos, YouTube, even my mom. She's a baby boomer, right? But she learns from videos. So we said, how do we digitize those work instructions? How do we lean into this digital era and start taking those little tools and show that we're able to adapt to the new requirements of this workforce, because adaptability is important, right? They don't want to come work in an organization where everything is like, this is what we've done for the last 100 years. It's 2025, right? So we show them that, and it's been very well received. The quality has been maintained, right? We've had no issues. Actually, the quality is better. And we notice that our processes have improved because we go back and we watch these video instructions and we're scratching our head like, I just did 3 steps. I could have done that in 1. So it's helping us grow as well.
Liz?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things that I'm actually going to be speaking about today, how we've transformed our work instructions to this digital era. And, the days of doing research with an encyclopedia are long gone. That's something from the past. And so today's demographic, today's I would say our society today really demands on-demand content. And one of the things that we've learned is that studies show that people remember 80% of what they see and only 20% of what they read. And the human mind processes 60,000 times faster with visual content. And so given all of that, we've had to take our old historical work instructions that were, 100-page manuals, because, today's generation, today's workforce, they're not going to flip through 100 pages to learn a task. They demand that visual content, those pictorials, those easy annotations and steps in learning. And so we've had to adapt from that legacy, that traditional way that we build the aircraft and we teach people how to build the aircraft into this digital age. And as a defense contractor, we didn't have the luxury of digitizing, 100 years of data. We had to think differently and be resourceful with the tools that we have at our fingertips.
Yeah, I mean, from being a software vendor, the new influx of talent and technology is actually, we're on a precipice, so we're on a edge of changing the way we interact with user interfaces. Natural language is now coming in, so rather than going through a particular screen, clicking on a particular button, now it's really, can we interpret the natural conversation that is occurring in the workforce, work instructions or audio cues in order to do tasks and then execute operations through that in and into our systems. So with that, I want to change topic into change management, because I mean, with any new process, with any new way of learning, we really have to embody change management and learn that it needs to be structured and in place. So how do you approach change management? What are your the style that you do it within the organization, and key points that you would like to bring out around change management?
I wish I could say I was an expert in that. Change management has always been difficult, and especially now when things are moving so quickly. Trying to keep the entire organization up to speed and making sure everybody understands, first of all, the importance of it, especially an organization like Boeing, I can only imagine. Everything has to be properly documented. You can't just run off and do whatever, because that can affect our customers significantly, and we're liable for that. We're liable for that quality. So we have to make sure that our entire organization, I say slow down to speed up a little bit. it. You have a great idea, and we don't want to hinder any ideas that you may have, but we all have to be in lockstep on the things that we're going to do. We have to make sure that that change that you're proposing does not affect another organization. So we have a bit of a committee that we formed that's a cross-functional group, and it's a little bit different than groups we would have done in the past, where you would have just had the operations folks. So your quality manager, your delivery, it includes HR, it includes finance, it includes IT. Because sometimes, people thought, oh, I have this great idea and I want to do it. And you run off and you don't think about, well, how that idea affects others. So we had to think about our change management process a little bit differently. So it's not just the technical methodology that we used previously, but you're also thinking about all the affected parties.
Christina?
When I think about change management or just leadership in general, my philosophy is I'm there to serve my people. It's not the other way around. And I've had, the opportunity within my career to have amazing leaders, many of which have been war heroes. And when you think about people who will risk their lives for others, that sets a culture and that sets an environment that's unmatched by anything else. And so change management for us at Boeing is about building that culture and that environment where people feel engaged, they feel involved, they feel heard. It's also about being able to take risks and be okay with failures, because we will have them, but not be, penalize our workforce if we make a mistake. Being able to grow together. And, when you think about our business environment, we have a lot of pressures, we have a lot of goals and priorities that we have to meet. But as a leader, you have to stay calm. Even through the darkest hours, there's moments that will shake you to the core and challenge you. You have to be calm. And you have to be okay with being in that uncomfortable space, because as a leader, everyone is watching you. They are watching how you react to situations, how you address, shortcomings, and, being that agent for change and being that agent for risk, but also being that agent that people feel welcomed and they feel that they can perform at their best potential each and every day.
Yeah, I think there's a point of you can never over communicate in a situation of change management, and the most successful projects that I've seen haven't been technical upgrades, they've really been transformations, and that's bringing both the business and IT in together as partners and joint stakeholders with goals and responsibilities at the end of it. You see that when everybody's involved at the ground level, then the success is a lot higher than if it was just an IT project.
That's right.
Absolutely. And you can never underestimate that power of, what's in it for me. Being able to communicate to all of the stakeholders, if we do this, this is the benefit for all of us, for our entire organization. And I think that, having that connection, connecting to people and their needs is important in that process.
Yeah.
Listening is so important. There's a saying that leaders speak last. And, listening to your workforce, listening to your team, listening to your people is so critically important, and not changing for change's sake. Changing because it's right, it's intentional, and it's going to progress the team forward.
Yeah, we see, when SAP comes into organizations to help with transformation, we see a lot of almost transactional silos. Everybody is trying to look after their KPIs, and it's like, this isn't my job. I will just pass it over to finance, or I'll pass it over to the supply chain out. And what we see is that, breaking those silos down and allowing information to flow, whether or not that's verbal communication joint teams or even data moving across the organization. That just involves everybody, and so
That's
everybody is engaged, and it has has that what's in it for me. I understand that objective, and then when you start to communicate, one of the best project communications I saw was it was the London Tube, and they had the progress of the project going through the individual tube stations. Mm-hmm. It was a very easy pictorial element of where are we on our project, and so everybody was on the same page. So when things came up, that everybody was aware of this is the reason why this is here, and we move on.
Yeah, I agree. And breaking down those silos, those functional silos, are very important. And when I think about, even integrated product teams, if I'm a supplier or a supplier management professional and I buy a part, or if I'm an engineer and I design a part, it's bringing those folks together. They build a part and produce and design and develop a part for the Apache. And they all have to be key stakeholders together, involved in a very combined and integrated team to ensure the ultimate success and the mission of the team. It's almost like if you think about a football team, right? Everyone has a position that they play, but you won't function as a team unless you're all in it together.
Yeah, and if they're out of position, that's when weaknesses are created.
Mm-hmm.
So, with transformation, we always want to continually do improvements. How do you, in this very disruptive period of time, how do you put continuous improvement programs in place, but still be lean about it, so it's not really impacting the business? So, have you tried to do continuous improvement plans and made it as a core foundational element to how you do business?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a bit of a continuous improvement junkie. I'm addicted to it. And we try to, and that spreads through our organization. That's not me. That's our organization. Our leadership recognizes we're a smaller company. And if we're going to be competitive and we're going to stay in business for our next 100 years, then we have to continually, whether it's safety, it's quality, it's delivery, all those key metrics, including the morale of our people, we take it all the way to the shop floor so that every individual realizes that, I need to contribute, and this is a space where they want me to contribute. We even put a little healthy competition out there. We're at the shop floor level. We recognize those individuals who have come up with an idea, whether it was a cost savings idea or something that improved morale or their work. And so people want to do a good job. People come to work every day, and there's that small percentage that doesn't care. But we find the majority, they want to improve the organization, they want to improve themselves, and they want to leave a legacy for their children, their neighbors, you name it. So it become a bit infectious once you have a good culture established. And I can tell the health of an organization when you walk in. And you can see their safety metrics, for example. You visit the employee bathroom. I visit the employee break room, right? And you see that energy. And then you take it a step further and you're like, ask about their continuous improvement programs and what are some of the things that they're implemented. And they always line up. If I see a plant that's dirty, that has a poor 5S culture, their safety metrics are poor, when you ask about their continuous improvement programs, they usually do not exist. And that's not true for us. So I'm glad to see people stop me when I'm in the plants. They have operators say, hey, do you have a minute for me? And they want to share with you an idea. That it excites me. And not every idea you can implement, right? And we always try to communicate very clearly, always thanking them for their idea. Getting back to them is important to say, it was a great idea and we appreciate you for submitting it. We can't do it at this time, and here's why. But maybe we can consider another time because, as you mentioned earlier, we do have budget constraints. And so you can't do everything all at once, not to mention we only have so many people to execute. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of a balancing act, but again, I think your continuous improvement programs are definitely an indicator of your overall culture of your organization.
Well, I definitely think, just seeing employees wearing branded clothing, it's like almost as close to the heart. I'm valued as an employee because of the input that I provide in these continuous improvement programs. It is very warm to see that. And as you know, when you go to certain sites and you go, there's something amiss here. It's not quite functioning how it should do. And typically it goes back to, employees being engaged in that improvement projects.
Yeah.
Christina.
Yeah, I think when I think about lean methodologies and lean practices, continuous improvement is at the core. And continuous improvement shouldn't be something that we take time to do. It should be something that's embedded in the fabric of our existence. And once we set a goal and we achieve that goal, we then, create another goal that's even higher to drive that culture and that environment to continuously strive to be better than we once were before. And it's also about empowering people, empowering teams and employees to be the change, and giving them that space and that environment where they can make the right changes. As the leader of the Mesa site, I don't know everything. I tell my kids that. I have eyes in the back of my head. I know everything, but I really don't. And, trusting your workforce to make the right changes, to make the right improvements, and giving them that space to do that is so critically important in culture, in an environment. And that's where you're going to find more successes and new ideas that maybe I didn't think about that somebody else did. And giving the folks the space to make that change is so very powerful. And that's what we've seen, throughout the years. And our production line has just continuously evolved. It doesn't stay the same forever. And that's because of the great men and women who build this product, and they're a part of that change. They're empowered to make a difference. And it's important that we celebrate those successes, celebrate and recognize our teammates for the great work that they do to make this aircraft the best in the world.
Right. So, as we come to a close, one final topic, and I'm really interested to find out, is that what is the one takeaway that you can give to the audience that really inspires you in the morning to get up, to go to work, that you see in your companies?
Oh, I am excited about the people that I work for. I mean, my team is amazing. The team of people, and that's all the way from my leadership to the shop floor. Some days I'm not going to pretend, that you're getting that bed off your back. Can I get in here? But yeah, I'm motivated because I know that there's so many people who want to do well, right? And it's about their families. For every one face that you see, you're affecting 10, 20. You're affecting an entire community. And for me, the idea that I can have an impact on that, I never would have thought. When I talk to my groups about the products that we make and how our products are helping automate tomorrow, and I look at customers like Boeing is sitting next to me, that excites me. I'm like, oh my gosh, good to meet you. And I try to give them that same excitement. And I would say as leaders, you have to come in and you have to inspire the people around you. Even when you're having a bad day, leaders don't get to have a bad day. You got to put that behind you. When you get out of your car, you got to put that smile on your face and you go in here and you say, okay, guys, we can win. It's third down, but we've got another chance. We're going to get the ball back. And no matter what's going on, if you get to a point where you hate your role and you don't like what you're doing, leave. Don't come in and make everybody else miserable, right? So when my folks have a leader in our leadership team, and they see how we interact, and they see that we're pressing forward, and our slogan is "We automate tomorrow," right? And I'm talking about the products that we have coming and the exciting customers that we have. It keeps us going. And I'd say for those people who don't want to be in manufacturing anymore, I don't know why. Look at the great products. Watch a YouTube video and see some of the stuff that happens in manufacturing. It's so exciting, and the transformation we're going to see in the next 10 to 15 years is just amazing. So I get excited for that.
I come in excited every day because I'm a part of a team that builds a weapon system, the Apache that defends our nation's freedom and ensures that the warfighter, the soldier, comes home to their families. And I am so very passionate, and I have so much admiration, respect, and love. You don't hear love a lot in business, but I love our team out in Mesa, Arizona, the men and women who touch every single nut, bolt, screw part that goes onto that Apache, and the pride and the dedication and commitment that they have to build this amazing aircraft for the warfighter. And more importantly, the great men and women all across the globe who fly this aircraft each and every day. It makes me very excited to come into work. And, my 28 years at Boeing and Mesa, I've got to see firsthand how we've evolved this aircraft and modernized this aircraft. And the Apache does things that, 28 years ago I never thought was possible. And so the excitement that we have for the technologies that we put onto this aircraft and the things that we do to defend our nation, they are second to none, the best in the world, and love what I do.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you very much, ladies, for spending the time with me.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
You've been listening to another episode of Executive Platform's Blueprint podcast series. Thanks for joining us.